You're listening to season 3 of That's Not How a Baby Sleeps. I'm your host, Alicia Daishon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Eleni Katsinis. We're not your average sleep consultants, no cry it out or sleep training at all for that matter.
Hello, everybody. Well, this is Alicia.
Hi. I feel like I know you already because I've been listening to the podcast for so long.
It's nice to
meet you.
That's so funny. I was just telling her that. I was like, Anna was telling me like about Luna. And you're like, yeah, I know Luna.
Like, I feel like I know your kids in like a super not creepy way. So
that's okay. It's like that when you're online.
Thank you for coming. We're so excited to have you. I talk about you all the time and always recommend everybody to you because Babywearing is so important and they don't know that you're even there or like your information and knowledge is out there just like us pretty much with sleep. So can you start by just sharing your journey, like what led you here, why you became a babywear educator, and I guess like how you got certified too, which would be cool to learn.
Yeah, so when I was pregnant with Eli, I have like a bajillion family members that tossed all of their junk to me. And in that, like, here, take all my hand-me-downs. From my cousins, there was a bunch of baby carriers. I was like, oh, cool, like another gadget. And I thought once he was born, I was gonna just figure it out. I was just gonna put on a carrier and that would be it. So I didn't really like think too much about baby wearing when I was pregnant. And then, I had this tiny little newborn and I was like, okay, let me put this thing on. I was like, oh, that's not right at all. It's a lot harder than it looks in a lot of the videos. So I was trying to actually look for a class for myself to take of like, is there somebody who can show me how to do this in person? Because the YouTube videos were just like not it for me. That's not my learning style. I wanted somebody to be there to like tweak it for me. It turns out there was nobody in Buffalo that was doing that. There was a place that was advertising baby wearing classes, but if you went to their schedule, there was nothing. I was like, oh darn. So I did rely on the Facebook groups for a while, like posting a fit check, like what can I fix? How can I make this better? So I spent a lot of time learning that way. And then eventually I was like, I've ended up with quite the collection here. I want to share this with people. Like I was lending them out to my friends and family anyways. Here, try this one. You might like this. So I was kind of already taking on sort of a teaching role. And then I learned that there was actually a certification I could take. So that's the Center for Baby Wearing Studies. I got certified in December of 2023. So it's been 2 years now. And that's a 6-week course. There's 10 to 12 hours of learning each week. It's pretty intensive, but it's really interesting. And then after I got my certification, I started my small business. So I'm Buffalo Bundles Baby Wearing.
Beautiful.
So it's been, almost 2 years in business.
That's awesome. Well, everyone in Buffalo knows you and loves you. And you are also...
I feel like people are starting to know that I'm there, which is really cool.
They do.
And there's a second baby wearing educator in Buffalo too, and we work closely together. So tailor-made baby wearing is also in Buffalo. So it's been really fun to have somebody else to collaborate with and kind of help me spread the word of like how great baby wearing is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're also a full-time speech therapist and
so I work
full-time mom. So you have all the things. And I'm like,
so it's been like a slow burn to get to where I am now with the small business where I feel like I can be out in public, and if it's something that has to do with babies, somebody will know who I am, which is really, really fun. Be like, oh, you're the baby wearing lady. I'm like, yeah, I am.
I love that.
So yeah, it's just been fun to kind of get the word out.
And when you have your kids with you, you're pretty much always baby wearing, so they know that.
One of them is always up. And I wear my business name around all the time too.
Is that a new sweater?
Yeah, it's a new one. It's got both of them on there.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. I love it. I have a baby wear shirt, Alicia, and I don't even have a baby, and I don't baby wear. But what does it say? Ask me about my baby carrier.
It's on my water too. Ask me about my baby carrier.
I wear it all the time because it's a great shirt, and everyone's like, "What does that mean?" And I try to like talk about it. I'm like, I don't have a baby, but I'm gonna wear this all the time. It's so funny.
Still representing. I appreciate it.
Of course, always.
I miss when mine were little and I could wear them around, and now they're so big.
Well, that's why you need to have a third so you can baby wear again.
No.
In the same boat, no third for me. 2's enough. I only have a front and a back. I don't know where I would put a third baby.
That's so funny. So what does baby wearing mean to you beyond just being a tool? Like how has it influenced your parenting or your work or both?
Yeah, so I think it's really easy to look at baby wearing as being just like a tool to transport baby from point A to point B, or to calm baby. You put them in, you calm them down. It served its purpose. But if we're only looking at it through that lens, we're kind of limiting kind of all of those other things that baby wearing can benefit us in, because we have other ways to transport baby. You can put them in like the baby what is the car seat? We hardly ever use those. Or put them in a bouncer to calm them down. Like there's other tools that do those things. But if we are only looking at it through that lens, we're missing out on like the physiological regulation that those other methods of transportation and calming don't really have. So some of those are baby wearing is shown to improve breastfeeding outcomes. It actually reduces infant crying, which is really fascinating to me. I was reading some of the research articles recently, and when they say reduce infant crying, infants around the world follow the same patterns of cries. So that like when crying peaks, what is it around like was it 2 months, I think?
Yeah, 6
Like
weeks.
crying 6 weeks, yeah. So that happens across the board. But the difference is not the pattern of crying, it's the duration. So in cultures where babies are being carried constantly, they're still following those patterns, but it's the duration of the crying that is cut in half 43% during the day, 51% when they consider like 4 p.m. to midnight. So those cultures that are baby wearing all the time, their babies aren't crying for as long, just like as a result of being on the wearers, on like mom's body or whoever it is wearing them, because then the caregiver is more responsive to their cues. If your baby's in a bouncer and they start kind of wiggling, you might not see it right away, but if they're right there, you're feeling it, so you're responding to it right away. I think that's a really important benefit of baby wearing, to think about beyond just moving from point A to point B.
Yeah, I love that, because I remember reading that article a little bit ago. I think it was called like Why Babies in Africa Don't Cry. I'm sure you
Yeah, so the study that I'm referring to was a hunter-gatherer culture in Botswana. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's so beautiful. It probably goes with like Hunt, Gather, Parent too. Have you read that book?
Yeah. It's kind of like the same sort of
Did you
ideas.
have was there a lot of baby wearing references in there, or was it more like childhood?
I'm familiar with the concept. I never read the whole book.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah. So
whoever read it, let us know. Because
so somebody tell us.
Because I definitely started it, but I did not finish it because I was at the point of like the thick of motherhood. And for me, I couldn't read it in that moment. I'm just like, I gotta get to
that totally makes sense.
You know, I'm like, let me
get through it,
this.
and then
I'll read it
and
later.
then figure out why everything happened the way it happened.
Exactly. Oh, it's fun.
Yeah. But for me, it's like it's so fun to watch clients like go from that I'm here to figure out how to put a carrier on, to then like the carrier becomes part of how they parent, and it becomes part of the lifestyle. And it doesn't happen for everybody. It's not aligned with every person's method of motherhood. But when I see clients kind of make that switch, it's really, really cool to help them through that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess you kind of already covered this, but maybe you can go more in detail on like new parents who don't even understand what baby wearing is at all, like how you would define it. And you already mentioned it, but like more powerful pieces of caregiving, like into the world, like you said, into your day-to-day lifestyle.
Yeah, so to give it a definition, to me, it's using an external tool to assist you in the act of caring your child. And I think that's an important way of wording it, because it's a mindset shift of like baby wearing isn't this extra thing you're doing. It's a tool to help you do what you're already doing, which is carrying your baby. So like when people say, "Oh, I could never baby wear, my back wouldn't let me," or "Oh, that looks like it's so hard on your body." It's like you're already holding them. The carrier is there to support you in that carrying your child, which you're already doing. So if you're using the right sort of carrier, it should be making it easier for you to carry your child. And if it's not, then that's like a really good reason to find an educator near you that can help you make it easier. Baby carriers are actually considered to be one of the earliest man-made tools. The earliest evidence of baby wearing was 10,000 years ago. So to me, like every culture for 10,000 years has figured out a way to do this. And that wouldn't happen if there wasn't like a deep biological need for keeping baby close and keeping your hands free.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just like with sleep and like co-sleeping and keeping baby close and all that stuff, it's been happening for years and years and years, and now it's just like, but
it's like the same thing with sleep and with the idea of like keeping baby separate from you. Like it's so new. The bouncer was invented in what, like 1961, I want to say, whereas the baby carrier was invented 10,000 years ago. So that kind of just goes to show that like this culture that we're trying to parent in isn't conducive to the way that we've been parenting for 10,000 years. So it's kind of, I don't know, it feels like a little act of resistance to like carry my babies around in a carrier and like know that it's something that's so traditional, and like mothers have been doing this for forever. And to kind of be like, no, I don't need to put them down. Like I can still go about my life with my little toddler on my back.
Exactly.
And like there's nothing wrong with it.
That goes into the next question is like, what are some misconceptions around baby wearing that you often hear?
There are so many of them that I'm constantly well, not arguing, but like educating people kindly about. One of them would be that kids are too big to baby wear once they start walking. I hear that constantly. Oh, they walk, so they don't need a baby wear anymore. Violet turned 1 in October, so 2 months ago. So my Facebook group is all like new walkers and little toddlers, and they're like, "Oh, we don't baby wear anymore." I'm like, "Have you ever met a 14-month-old?" Just because they can walk doesn't mean they're going to continue walking when you need them to. And that's when you see, the mom pushing the stroller and holding the baby in one arm. Like, just put them in a carrier and you don't need the stroller. It's just funny to me, like, nobody will bat an eye at a 4-year-old being in your arms or in a stroller, but it's the second you put them in a carrier, they're like, oh, can't they walk? So I think that's like a really big misconception that I come across that one quite often.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's like the Velcro baby. Like, you're making your baby clingy. Like, well, no, my baby is clingy because they're a baby. So this is helping me.
Exactly.
I'm sure you have thoughts on the whole Velcro baby term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they need the most contact and closeness and connection, those Velcro babies. Would you say Violet was more of a Velcro baby?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Eli, he loved being in a carrier too. He was just like a quicker to warm up kid. So when we went somewhere new, he was ready to go quicker than Violet is. So Violet ends up in the carrier for longer. And people are like, oh, aren't you going to let her down? I'm like, yeah, when she's ready, I will. But right now, like, we're both calm because she's on me.
Observing the environment before.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes her a minute.
Does she still like that?
And she's super outgoing once she's comfortable. It's just, it takes her a minute.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like kids who, I mean, you're carrying them around, you're supporting them, giving them that connection and stuff. They're going to want to be more independent. They're going to be like, okay, I'm done now. Let me down, mom, and I'm going to go help my business.
Yeah. But that's so hard for people who don't have that same mindset towards child development. It's so hard for them to see because they see like the carrier as being like a hindrance to independence when it's like the exact opposite.
Exactly. Just like sleep, supporting our kids to
Mhm.
sleep and being there. And you have 2 kids that are totally different with sleep and baby wearing. Like you have,
Knock on wood.
I know.
Violet's been sleeping
I
great.
know she's been doing good, but Elliot, who doesn't really need you guys at all, and you never did anything.
No, he was just like an angel. He's like, I'm ready to sleep now. It got to the point where like I'm trying to rock this baby to sleep, and he's like, Mom, like if he could talk, he would have said, could you please just put me down? Because like the second I like left, he was like 4 months old, and I was like, let me try just leaving and see what happens. And he just babbled to himself and then fell asleep. I was like, okay, that was easy. And Violet's been like the exact opposite. But she slept until 7 today, so I don't want to say it too loud because then it won't happen again.
When it's going good, don't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and for her, like waking up every 3 hours until she's a year old, when nothing else would work, she would go in a carrier in the middle of the night. I would unzip the sleep sack at the bottom. I always have the one that unzips at the bottom so I could put her in a carrier.
I love
She would chill and I could chill out. I wasn't so stressed because I wasn't walking around bouncing a baby like that. So yeah, it was a huge tool for sleep for me.
That's awesome.
And I think like it took me until Violet was like 6 months old to like realize that I could use the carrier in that context, even being an educator. I was like, oh, it's for like out and about or like during the day. And I was like, oh, like I can use that now while she's in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. and won't go to sleep.
I've had clients where they've used the carrier to get their baby to sleep. Like instead of rocking, it was just baby goes in the carrier, falls asleep, and then they transfer her.
That's what I do for her now for bedtime, but like it just took a while for me to I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why I wasn't thinking of it. It's the middle of the night and I'm a sleep deprived mom is probably why. But to realize that I can also use that tool in the middle of the night was huge for me, and we use that a
Use it
ton.
for her bedtime routine.
Yeah, it's part of her bedtime routine.
That.
Yeah, it's great. I posted, I don't know, Lenny, if you saw it, I posted on my stories the other day. It took me a minute and 15 seconds to get Violet down for bed because she fell asleep while I was still wrapping her. So it took me 45 seconds to get her in. She zonked out. And then, of course, like I snuggled with her for another minute because who wouldn't? And then it took me 30 seconds to get her out and put her in the crib. I was like, oh, that was
Can it
easy.
be difficult to transfer, like getting her all unhooked up and stuff?
No, this was actually one of the things Eleni helped me with when I worked with her when Violet was younger, was how to physically do the transfer, because we were baby wearing a lot then too, obviously. My mom would baby wear her to sleep when she had her and then have to put her down too. So Eleni helped me a lot with that process of like giving her a little squeeze after we take the carrier off, and then how to place her down just so it didn't, wake her up. But now she's at the point where if she wakes up during the transfer, I can kind of support her at bedside and she'll fall back asleep.
Like carriers give them that like proprioceptive pressure that
Mhm.
and stuff. It's so beneficial. I mean, we don't. I mean, yes, some people we still swaddle their babies and that's fine. But like, I'm not a big fan of swaddling just because I think
Right.
it's so frustrating to try to get a child out of a swaddle. Some kids really do need that pressure and stuff, and I think the baby carriers allow for that.
Yeah, and that's where it's huge with my almost 3-year old too, is giving him that input before bedtime. He doesn't go up often, maybe once or twice a week now. It's usually either mid tantrum or if he's like super dysregulated at bedtime. We went into his room the other night and he was bouncing off the walls. I was like, oh no, this bedtime is going to go horribly. But I keep a sling in his room, so I popped him in the sling. We did his bedtime stories while he was up in the carrier, and then I took him out and we, snuggled and he went to sleep. So he needed that like extra input, or maybe it was the closeness, who knows what it really was about it, but it's just so regulating and it helped him calm down. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. So I guess you already answered this, but how does Babywearing support the attachment and regulation in babies and toddlers?
Yeah, I mean, they're physically attached to you, so that helps, right? Earlier about how if they're right there physically, it's just so much easier to pick up on their early cues for hunger or whatever it is. And then we know that like predictably having their needs met quickly is key in developing that secure attachment. And baby wearing is a huge tool for making sure that you're picking up on those early cues and able to respond to your baby as quickly as you can.
Yeah. And you mentioned too about like the regulation during tantrums and like big feelings
Yeah,
and stuff too.
I will throw him on my back mid tantrum. He's screaming at me, "Get me down, I don't want to go up." And then 30 seconds later, he's like,
Aw.
and then he just chills out. And then like the putting him in the carrier, it's regulating for me too, because I get so tense in my own body when he's going through this. I'm like, I have all this energy, like I need to like do something with my body, and like having like physically picking up an almost 40-pound kid and putting them on your back, like it gives me like a release for that energy too. So as soon as he chills on my back, like I can breathe again. And then like we move past that heightened state of stress that he was in together, and then we're able to talk about maybe what the trigger to that tantrum was and move past it together, versus like I don't know how I would ever do it, like just sitting next to him while he's having a tantrum. Like I know people do that. Like I need to hear.
Love that. I just had a vision of you at a grocery store, just scooping them up and throwing them on your
Yeah,
lap. And I'm like,
I've done it.
oh, I thought about that.
One day he had a complete meltdown at the museum. Pilot was already in the carrier that I had with me. And I was like, oh no, I wish I had another one with me so I could throw him on my back. But he ended up just being in one arm, and Violet was kind of on my hip. It was wild. But yeah, having a carrier, like knowing how to use a carrier so you can use it with an older toddler, older kid to help them through those dysregulated moments is huge. So I think it's really important to make sure parents know that it's so useful beyond the walking stage, because that's usually when I hear people say that they're not baby wearing anymore is because they're walking.
That's so helpful. And what a beautiful way that helps him like calm down. Like you're teaching him in such a great way to calm down instead of just like putting him in timeout or like closing the door on him, like things like that. Like you're teaching him.
Yeah, we'll get through it together.
It's funny. Remember that reel? It said like, I don't care. I'll keep sleeping with my kid. Like her husband can sleep train her or anything like that. You can be like, I don't care. I'm going to keep baby wearing. His wife can like wean him off the baby carrier. That'd be so funny.
But I think it's also important to note too, like some people are using baby wearing as a tool for children with mobility disabilities. Like there's a carrier called the KinderPack Max, and I want to say it goes up to 65 pounds, which is helping parents with those older kids who are in wheelchairs or have other sorts of disabilities access places that they couldn't otherwise, which I think is incredible.
That's beautiful. I love that. We already touched on this a little bit, but a lot of parents obviously worry about creating bad habits or clinginess with their children through a lot of contact. So how do you respond to those fears?
Yeah, I think it's just important to let them know, like, if it's working, how could it be a bad habit? Like, it's working for a reason, and we don't need to fight our biology. We don't have to fight our instincts. Like if it feels natural for you to have your baby snuggly up and close, like there's a reason why that feels good and why that feels right. So I try to encourage people like from that perspective of like this feels good because it's natural, and you don't need to worry because they're not going to want to do this when they're 10, and you don't need to worry about that. And then like the science behind why we baby wear is really interesting to me too. Uh, like a lot of people will say like, oh, they cry when I put them down, like they must be broken, like something's wrong with my baby, right? So like just teaching people like about how that's a survival instinct. Your baby doesn't know that it's not set down in the middle of a jungle where a lion's gonna eat them. Like so they're telling you like I don't feel safe, take me with you. And that's what that contact crying survival instinct is. So I think the more people are educated about why these behaviors are happening with their baby, helps them feel empowered in like making the decision to baby wear.
They see themselves as a full extension of mom until like at least 9 months old. Like if you're in a carrier, it's great.
Yeah, you're literally a physical extension. Yeah. But even like the anatomy of a baby, like the scrunch, the reflexes where they grab on when something touches their hand, those are all things that like primates have to help them be carried more easily. And that's not unique to like monkeys. We have that too because our babies want to be held. So I love teaching people like the kind of why behind why we baby wear, like from that standpoint. I think that usually helps relieve a little bit of that pressure to like not spoil your baby.
That's awesome. You're not just like teaching someone how to put a carrier on correctly. You're educating them
Yeah.
around everything that we talk about too, but related to sleep.
Yeah, like the putting on the carrier part, like the physically putting it on is like the least exciting part of the whole experience for me. Like it's so cool to like see somebody get comfortable and it clicks and whatever. But like the empowering people to baby wear in a way that feels right to them, like understand why we're doing it and understand like why this feels right. That's to me so much more important than like teaching them what carriers are available on the market. It's just not as exciting for me. It's interesting, but yeah, this whole aspect of baby wearing is like where my heart's at in this.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what are the key safety guidelines parents should know when choosing and using a carrier?
Yeah, so I think, there's acronyms out there. I truly don't even know all of them because I can't memorize them. I think it overcomplicates safety when we try to like memorize an acronym. But I think if we think about it just like the safety considerations for a carrier aren't really any different from the safety considerations in any other context. So I think addressing education from that standpoint helps demystify baby wearing a little bit and make it seem like a little less scary. Because when you're like all these rules you're rattling off at people, it can be a little intimidating. So I like to do just like a head to toe safety check, and I kind of can do it on Violet here. So if we start at the head, like her head should be close enough to kiss if I just tilt my head down. And the reason for that is then baby is resting on this hard part of your chest, and able to be in that curled up, like kind of scrunchy position. If we go down a little bit lower, we want to make sure that their mouth isn't covered by any fabric. So the panel shouldn't come higher than, we say earlobe is usually a good benchmark. Because like you wouldn't put a blanket over their face, so you're not going to put a carrier over their face either, right? So it's not unique to baby wearing, it's just like a general consideration for babies. And then their back, we're just supporting the natural curve in their spine. This is one that I see a lot because people think like the tighter the better. If I keep tightening this, they're going to be really secure. But what ends up happening is their back arches and it creates a pressure point in their spine. So we have to make sure we kind of loosen that up so baby can curl into like their natural curve of their spine. And as they get older, the curve in the spine is less and less pronounced. So we're just kind of following where they are developmentally for that. And then the hips are always a hot topic in baby wearing. So what we want is for baby to be supported all the way through the thighs in a spread squat position. And this is like the position most babies will take if you bring them to your chest. They kind of scrunch up their legs. The reason we want this wide base of support has to do with the ball and socket joint. So we have the ball at the top of the femur and the socket of the hip joint. And if they're in one of those narrow base carriers where they're just kind of like, we call them crotch danglers. That's really what they are. There's a couple out there, like the Baby Mini is a crotch dangler. I wouldn't recommend that one because the ball of the femur is out of that socket. So it's not supporting healthy hip development. When you have a wide base of support where the leg is supported through the femur, the ball of the ball and socket joint is deep in that hip socket, and that's optimal for hip development. And I think a lot of people see that kind of wide position. They're like, oh my gosh, that has to be so bad for their hips. And like people are concerned and think that should be a narrower carrier. But have you ever seen like the Pavlik harness for hip dysplasia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that baby is in that M-shaped position. Their legs are spread wide, and the ball of the ball and socket joint is so deep in that hip socket, and that's exactly what we're looking for in the carrier. So I like to use that kind of as a frame of reference for like this is what they do to treat hip dysplasia. So this is exactly the position we're aiming for. Because I think that can be hard for people to wrap their heads around. One of the other big safety considerations is I'm thinking about Babywearing as being an active two-person process versus something passive. So what that means is, it's you and your baby are kind of like, it's like a back and forth. So you have to make sure that you're frequently checking in with your baby, making sure nothing has shifted. So I say like every time you leave a room, it's a good chance to like check in with your baby and like make sure that their positioning has maintained those safe considerations, and then to always reposition after nursing. So a lot of people will nurse in the carrier and then they fall asleep and they don't want to bother their baby. But that low position and having the breast near the airway is an asphyxiation hazard. So we always want to, as soon as they're done nursing, bring them up to high on your chest.
Is that a lot more common in like the stretchy kind of wraps? Like I felt like when I had my newborn in the stretchy wrap, I was constantly having to like, tighten after a little while.
Yeah. So that can be stretchy wraps. They're so popular, but I do think they're one of the trickier carriers to use because there's just so much room for error. There's so many passes over you and over baby, and the fabric itself is stretchy. So if you're not getting out all the slack, baby's gonna find it. So a lot of times what I see is like there's extra loose fabric on the wearer's back. And if you're not correcting for that as you're getting baby in, that loose fabric that's on your back is going to eventually shift to your front, and that's what's going to cause baby to sag. Additionally, like the upper weight limit on a stretchy wrap, I want to say is 35 pounds. My 3-year-old is just over 35 pounds. There's no way I would wear him in a stretchy wrap. So considering things outside of the manufacturer's recommendations for weight is important because most people tend to find those like super unsupportive, like around the 15 to 18 pound mark, even though it's marketed much higher. Companies want to sell you more carriers. So the wider they can get the range of when the carrier is technically safe, the better for sales.
I've became a really big fan of like ring slings.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites.
So easy to put on and just adjust. I'm a huge fan of those.
I think they're so much simpler to get on than a stretchy wrap, but I think that people are intimidated by it.
Yeah.
So that's part of why I'm always wearing one. So people can see, like, it's not that hard. Yeah, it's awesome because that's one that can be truly used from newborn through toddlerhood, which is great. And like there was a period of time where I was wearing that thing around like a toga with or without a baby, and one of them would go in, the other one would go out. Yeah, exactly. It's like my little accessory, my little pouch without a baby.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously Babywearing, like you just said, can be done safely with newborns, but how about preemies or, premature babies?
Yeah.
Like what should the parents should consider in those early weeks with them?
Yeah, preemie wearing definitely comes with a lot more caveats than wearing a typically developing full-term newborn. But if baby is medically complex versus just being small and early, those are things to consider too. But if we think about like how underdeveloped a human newborn is, and then a preemie is going to be even less developed. So they're going to be more dependent on external factors to adjust to the world outside the womb. Like they need more external help to regulate their body temperature, their heart rate, etc. So Babywearing can really be an incredible tool for those babies. I do always recommend that parents of preemies get medical clearance before they even think about Babywearing, because in those early days, it might just be skin to skin is what baby needs. There's actually a really cool product out there called the Joey Band, and it's not a carrier, it's a medical device, but it's a big piece of stretchy fabric that wraps around. Yeah, have you seen it? So it's just got a little Velcro, and it just is like an extra support for skin to skin. So that's something I would always recommend preemie parents to consider in the beginning. After that, there are some great like carriers out there that are specifically made for preemies. There's one called the Necco Tiny, and that's rated for 5.4 pounds, I want to say. Then there's another one called the Hoppities Premio, and that's 5.5 pounds. So those are like more structured buckle carriers that work for preemies. But outside of those ones that are specifically marketed for preemies, a ring sling can work great for a preemie because you're in full control over how big that carrier is. A woven wrap too, you have full control over how big the carrier is. So those can be good options for preemies, but always making sure you have medical clearance because there might be something going on that would limit your ability to safely baby wear. But more often than not, baby's going to benefit from the skin to skin that Babywearing provides.
Exactly. So you already mentioned so many different carriers. I know there's a lot out there. I know you have a huge collection because I've seen it. So how can parents figure out which one's best for them?
Yeah, so it's really tough to figure out what's going to work best because you want to just like order one and it works and they're expensive and that's not always the case. So I bought them all for you, so you don't have to. Yeah, so I equate it to like buying a pair of jeans based on someone else's recommendations. Like if they work for your favorite influencer, it doesn't mean that it's going to work on your body. So part of what I want to do with clients is not necessarily figure out what specific product you like, but figure out which features you like. And from there, you can kind of navigate the market, having the understanding of what you may or may not like in a carrier. Like there's different waistband styles, there's wraps, there's half buckles, there's all these sorts of different features. And if you know, like for me, I don't like when the straps of a carrier cross on my back. I can't stand the way it feels on me. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the carrier, it just doesn't work on me. Making sure a client knows that about themselves. Like if you know which one you like and a new carrier comes on the market, you're going to know right away whether or not you might like it or not. So I think that's really important. But really the only way to know for sure if something's going to work on you is to try it on. And there are, I have a rental program locally. Taylor and I team up on that. So it's both of our entire collections. There's over 80 carriers in it right now with more to be added. But there are like shipped programs for rentals as well out there. So I really encourage people to like try things on because until you have it on your body, you might think you're going to love it. It might be like the prettiest carrier you've ever seen and you really want it to work. But when you put it on, you might be like, oh, like I don't like the way this feels on me. And then, there's $200 down the drain because you've missed your return window because we never remember to return things on time. Yeah, so trying things on is huge because it's easy to see a brand name and assume that you're gonna like it because you know the brand.
Yeah. Well, there's a very popular, very, very expensive brand that everyone, I can't remember what it's called. You probably know which one I'm talking about. The one's like $400 or $500 carriers.
Yeah, the Artie Pop.
Yeah, that's one.
Artie Pop? Wow, that's expensive.
They are crazy expensive, but they're a very well marketed carrier. They're popular among influencers that, have that like luxury feel to their influencing brands. So people are like, I have to buy the most expensive one because it must be the best. But there's nothing truly, I mean, they might use some nice fabrics in some of their carriers, but other brands do that too. There's nothing so unique about the construction of that carrier that would warrant it to be that much more expensive besides it's marketed as a luxury product. So it's kind of, I like to try to show people how to navigate the market as an informed consumer because it's tricky. There's a lot of unethical businesses out there. There's a lot of carrier brands who are going to just advertise their carrier as being the best because it does it all. There's things on Amazon that haven't been safety tested. So that's tricky too. It's a hard market to navigate because these brands want to sell a desperate mama baby carrier. They don't care about how safe their product is. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. So I hear this all the time, and I'm sure you have too. Like, my baby doesn't like a baby carrier. I don't like the way this baby carrier works. So like, I'm not going to baby wear. Cause I honestly, I did a baby carrier when Nora was little and I got like the Amazon one that was like $30. Like, was it like Amazon brand? I just put it on my registry. Put it on.
That's what most people do. You don't do any research.
No research.
Like I went to the store 3 times to try to figure out which diaper bag I wanted. Yeah. But then I just picked a carrier because I recognized the name brand.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's so common.
So like I thought she didn't like it. I didn't like it because I was uncomfortable. So I'm like, I just literally never did it again because I was just not informed about it. And I know we talked about this. So I'm sure you hear this all the time. So how do you help people work through that? Yeah,
so the first thing I'll say to a mom who tells me that their baby doesn't like the carrier is Do they like being carried? And more often than not, the answer is yes. Every once in a while, the answer is no, though. And from there, we have to talk about, like, what kind of underlying tension might there be? What type of other professionals might need to be involved? Like, what's going on that your baby isn't liking that feeling, because a baby should, in theory, like to be carried, right? One of the other first things I always ask is if mom is breastfeeding. Because if you take a breastfed infant to your chest, what are they going to want to do? Is nurse. And what are they going to do when you don't nurse them is scream. So that's a big piece of it. I think a lot of times, like, we put so much pressure on ourselves as caregivers to, like, figure it out right away and, like, put this carrier on and it's supposed to work. But I always tell my clients, take a break. I don't, if the carrier is halfway on and you need to stop and bounce your baby in your arm carriers, do that. There's no reason not to. And then also looking into what developmental milestones are going on for your baby. So if they're starting to roll in a carrier, that's going to look like this. If they're practicing that skill on your body, they're going to be pushing off against your chest and turning. And they might be like, oh my gosh, they hate this. They're trying to get out. It's like, no, they're just using your body as a jungle gym, essentially, because it's a safe place to learn a new motor skill. Sometimes the fix can be as easy as getting your baby out of its footy sleepers, because when they do that, like, scrunched up position, like, what happens to your jeans when you sit down in the chairs? They're going to ride up. So if baby has that pressure on their toes, they're not going to like that, and they're going to scream and they're going to want out. And I made this mistake myself once with Violet. I'm like, why does she not like being in the wrap right now? And I was like, oh my gosh, her poor toes are so smushed. And the second I changed her and put her back in, she was fine. So that's something, like, that would be like a quick and easy fix. But usually it has to do, like, movement. So if you're getting baby in the carrier and you're standing still, they're probably not going to like that. So taking a break to, like, walk around, to switch up their surroundings. Eli, at one point, I had to go outside every time I put this kid in the carrier because he would scream if we were inside. If we were outside and he was looking at a tree, I put him in a carrier. It was fine. Yeah. He was one of those kids where I couldn't stop moving if he was in a carrier, which, just, like, that's normal because they think you're taking them away from danger if you're moving. Whereas Violet, she doesn't care what I'm doing as long as I'm touching her. So that was a lot different. Yeah, so, like, knowing your kid's temperament is huge, and, like, trying to figure out what they're going to like and not like in regards to a carrier. And making sure it's fitting you right is important too.
Totally.
I have a question. People, because you're carrying your baby and all the time, or not all the time, but quite a bit, people will say, like, from a developmental standpoint, they're not getting enough tummy time, floor time. Is baby wearing considered tummy time?
Yeah, so people like to throw that out there, that baby wearing is tummy time, but I think it's important that we think about, like, the plane of resistance. So with baby wearing, they're upright, so the plane of resistance isn't that big. They still are lifting their head up and looking around, which is great. I'm not saying it's not good for tummy time and, like, neck development, but I think it's important for those younger babies to also balance out with tummy time where they're parallel with the floor, because then they have to work against gravity even more. So I think it's not that it's not great for tummy time, but it also needs to be balanced out with, like, true floor time. Yeah, just because of how much more they have to work against gravity if they're, like, actually on the floor.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. I have two questions regarding that, kind of. You can start baby wearing your baby on your back when they're a newborn, or no? You should wait till they're bigger?
You can,
Okay.
depending on the carrier and your comfort level. In a woven wrap, right away, baby can be on your back as long as you're confident enough to get them back there. Generally, I would recommend a really high back carry for a newborn, because their face will be so close to your face that you can monitor their breathing really well. And they can settle into, like, that nice newborn curved position that's just on your back instead of on your front. It's important to note that there are cultures that wear their newborns lower on their back, and that's fine in those contexts, because those people who are wearing in that manner have grown up with baby wearing. They have, like, a strong network of support of people who baby wear in that manner. So for us, I would say high back carry in a woven wrap from a newborn, great. In other cultures, a lower back carry for a newborn might be safe too. But that has to do with more of, like, the cultural aspects of baby wearing versus, like, whether or not it's inherently safe or unsafe.
Yeah, and probably the resources that they have too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to the resources that we have, right? I mean, we have every single carrier under the sun that we can purchase or buy, and they're making their carriers, like,
yeah, it's just like a piece of cloth. Yeah, exactly.
So like you said, they have the support too, which is great.
Yeah.
And
Which is what I'm trying to help build in our little community here, is like a network of support for people to not feel like they're trying to figure it out on their own like I was.
Yeah, you're doing a great job with it.
Thanks.
So can you baby wear on your front and having baby faced out? Because
you can.
I hear you.
Hypothetically, physically, yes, you can. There are carriers that allow for it.
Okay, should you? Should you?
Should you? Is a different question. So it's a gray area because there are some educators that will tell you no, never do it ever. It's terrible for your baby. It's terrible for you. I take like a more, I don't know, more lenient approach to world facing, where if it's something you want to do here and there, I want to show you how to do it as best as you can. It was kind of created and like added into baby carriers as sort of like a gimmick for Western parents who think that the more a product does, the better it is, right? So the buckle style carrier was developed to be a backpack carrier. And then even moving it to the front was kind of like to placate Western parents who wanted to do more. And that's where like the infant inserts came in because people wanted to wear their babies on their front in that style of carrier. And then we wanted to flip them around too because why not? So the issues with world facing have to do with baby's positioning. So if you think about a baby facing you, their spine is in that curved position. A baby facing out, they're working against your body. They're going to have more of a flat spine, and it's going to be harder to get their hips into that position we talked about earlier, where the ball of the femur is deep within the hip socket. And then a baby facing you, you guys share one center of gravity. A baby facing out is going to be working against your center of gravity. So they're kind of like pulling on you. It can be harder on your back. It can also throw off your center of gravity to the point where it's going to increase your risk of falling. So that's something to consider too. And then baby can never sleep in that position because they can't maintain their airway, so that they're at risk of slumping. So you would always have to turn them around if they're falling asleep anyways, which a lot of times babies will fall asleep in the carrier. So then you're having to deal with taking them out, putting them back in facing you, which is just isn't ideal in my opinion, because it's some of them are kind of annoying to switch how it's set up for world facing versus parent facing. Yes, so short answer is yes, you can. Long answer is you can, but maybe don't do it all the time.
Yeah. Because I remember I had to meet up with a chiropractor and she saw the mom having the baby outward facing. He had to be a little bit young. Like, I don't think he can even like fully support his head yet.
Yeah, they should be tripod sitting before they do
and
that.
Like his hips definitely are very extended too, right? When they're like forward facing like that. And she was just like, I can't recommend you doing this knowing what I know about, development and like hips and everything like that. So I heard that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, a lot of people think like their baby wants a better view, and that I see happening around the time where baby's starting to roll. So they're doing that pushing around, trying to look around thing in the carrier. But if your carrier is fitting you properly, your baby has plenty of a view. If your carrier isn't fitting you well and like the shoulder straps are getting in baby's face and blocking their view, yeah, maybe it's going to seem like they want to turn around, but they really just want you to fix your carrier so they can see. So yeah, it's not something I recommend doing often, but if it's something that a caregiver wants to do for whatever reason, I will teach you how to do it as best as you can, but I'll recommend that you limit it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they can just get more confident with the back carry, which they can look
Yeah,
around,
absolutely.
At that point.
Yeah, so in a structured, the soft structure carrier, like the traditional carrier that we think about, like with the buckles, like the backpack style, to be world facing, they should be tripod sitting, and to be on your back, they should be independently sitting. So it's just like that little period of time before baby develops the true independent sit, where the people might want to be world facing, and then I'm like, as soon as they can sit upright, switch them to your back. I promise you'll both like it more.
Yeah, awesome. I know you touched on this a little bit with your own kids, but how does baby wearing support biologically normal infant sleep and toddler sleep?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the baby carrier is like just the perfect recipe for sleep. So the proximity, they feel you kind of moving around as you go about your day. The close contact lowers their cortisol, which regulates their body temperature, their breathing. So all of those things that you get from contact, the carrier is just supporting all of those great physiological um, benefits. The baby carrier is a one-stop shop for everything baby needs for sleep.
Yeah.
And making sure parents feel confident enough in their skills to use it as a tool. Like, you're not ruining your baby's sleep if you're helping them to sleep in a carrier. So I know that those things are things that you guys teach your clients all the time. Like it's not a problem that your baby needs help to sleep. It's not a problem that your baby wants to go in the carrier for sleep. There was actually like a whole period of time where Eli would fall asleep every time he was in a carrier. Like I could not walk to Starbucks with this kid unless like he needed a nap because he would fall asleep. It didn't matter if he just woke up 10 minutes ago. He was gonna fall asleep. So like I had to kind of time my baby wearing time around what worked for us for his nap schedule, which was really interesting. I was like, could you please stay awake so I can go get my coffee?
Yeah, you're ruining.
But he wouldn't. There was just no keeping him awake in a carrier at one point, and it's looking back, I was like, that was so
That's
nice.
so funny. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people think that not to do that, right? Contact naps, carrier naps, because they're not going to
Mhm.
get that deep restorative nap, which we know is not true. We know
Right.
that you can nap on the go. They can nap in noise. They can nap in
Yeah.
light, and they'll probably sleep better, especially with moms who have multiple kids, because that's
Yeah, we never had to rush home for a nap
yeah,
because I just pull out a carrier and whoever needs to nap is gonna nap.
that's awesome.
So yeah.
That's awesome. So, what are some common struggles parents face when learning to baby wear, and how can you help them move through that frustration?
I think like the biggest struggle that I see is people being discouraged when it doesn't work right away. For me, it was like, I know this is natural. It's not coming naturally. Like, what is wrong with me? And I think for that, it's just important to remind people that like baby wearing is a skill, it's a practice, and it doesn't have to be perfect to be safe and functional. And that's something that I repeat to clients all the time. Like right now, the way you're wearing your carrier, it's safe and functional. It might not be perfect. Do you want me to give you more tips to make it a little more comfortable? Because I try not to like bombard people with like all these little tweaks. So I think letting people know that safe doesn't mean perfect. And when I'm giving corrections, I always make sure that they know whether or not the correction that I'm making is for safety or if it's for comfort. Because I think if they put on a carrier and I'm like, change this, do this, do this, do this, like, oh my gosh, I did it all wrong. Like, I'm going to hurt my baby. It's like, no, you did it fine, but this will make you more comfortable.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, finding, like you said, finding groups that can help with baby wearing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have a really great Facebook community where I'm not baby wearing, but I'm in it just so I
Mhm.
can see because I love it.
Yeah.
Like everyone's sending pictures to each other, like, how does this look? And you're responding really well. And I'm sure there's a lot of different baby wearing connections.
Yeah, there are. There's like bigger, like there's national groups, there's, worldwide groups. And like those like baby wearing groups they were like my community when I was just like first learning how to do this because nobody in my life baby wore. So I think it's really important to lean on other people who are parenting the same way that you're parenting or similarly, even if your views are different in other aspects. Like if you want to sleep train but you're also baby wearing, like let's talk about that. We just won't talk about the other piece of it. And just like finding the people who you can bounce ideas off of or like who might have tried a different carrier that you haven't tried. Like I see moms in our local Facebook group like loaning carriers to each other and like I have a rental program, but like great if you guys want to like borrow from each other. I love that. Like that's community and like that's more important to me than like having your rental. So I think building that little community, even in like the larger groups on Facebook, is really, really nice.
That's awesome. So, how can we encourage that? More partners, dads, caregivers, and even, I guess, more communities to really help embrace baby wearing?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I try to do in my business is make sure that I'm using inclusive language. Most of our events, like, will say parents, they won't say moms, but I'll still have people ask, like, oh, can my partner come? Like, yes, they can, please. So I think maybe I need to be a little bit more clear that, like, this is for everyone, it's not just for moms. And, like, it can be a really great way for dads or other caregivers to ease some of like the physical burdens of motherhood. I love my kids. I love wearing my kids, but it's physically hard sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's so like being able to share that sort of responsibility with other people in your baby's life is huge. For me with Eli, I didn't let anyone else wear him because I had gone down the rabbit hole in these Facebook groups. I'm like, oh, if somebody does this wrong or does this wrong or does this wrong, like they aren't going to know how to do it. Like I know how to do it. So for me, it was kind of like about control. Like I was too nervous to let somebody else do it. So I think empowering the mom or the primary caregiver to be so comfortable with their carrier that they're able to then pass it to somebody else and teach them how to do it is huge. Because now, like, whoever wants to wear violet, go for it. I will show you how. I don't care if you're doing it perfectly because I know that safe and perfect aren't the same thing. So I think that that's important. We try to make sure that we're using words like caregiver, wearer, instead of always just saying mom, because other people should be wearing. And in other cultures, other people wear all the time. It's not always mom, like it is for the most part with us here.
Exactly. It's like that village. I do see your mom at like the trampoline park and she's wearing violet. I'm like, wait, I know that baby. And I'm like, oh, I know her mom. And she's like the perfect little like grandma and just like with her
She loves
little
it, yeah.
carrier and it like matches her so beautifully. I'm like, you look amazing. Like, and I always
Yeah, I found her a carrier. That's like totally her vibe,
Yeah.
and she loves it.
That's awesome.
But she wears my little nephew now too. Violet's so big for her to wear. So now she has all four of her grandbabies, so she's always got one of them up.
That's amazing.
She likes even like the tush baby. It can be nice for like um a different caregiver who might not be comfortable with a carrier but still want some support in holding the child. I always recommend a tush baby for like grandparents because they might not want to they might not be comfortable with trying to learn a carrier, but to have a little bit of extra support while they're holding a baby, like the tush baby can be really nice for that.
That's a great idea. And that's really good Christmas gifts coming up, holiday gifts. That's awesome. And obviously with the holidays too, Babywearing is a great tool to use if you don't want to pass your baby around because
those germs away.
No one's going to go inside a carrier and take the baby out of the carrier.
Although you would be surprised because I have had people try to just like lift one of my kids out of carrier. I'm like, that's not how it works. Can you let me like get them down first? But I will say like it is a great deterrent if well even just for baby too, to be overstimulated in like a large crowd, put them right on the carrier, and who cares if like great Aunt Mildred says you're hogging the baby. It's your baby to hog.
Exactly.
So,
and I really think it's like such a beautiful accessory too. Like it looks so pretty. I remember me and Anna did a meetup where she had the carriers, and I remember this one mom had this like beautiful sweater on, and she picked a carrier that matched her sweater. And she was wearing her baby. I don't know. I think he was in the front or he was on the back. Can you kind of do it on the side too?
You can, yeah. So I think I know who you're talking about too.
She was like on the side. I'm like, you look amazing. Like you, even just that carrier with your baby made your like outfit complete. It was just so beautiful.
She came to, I had done a photo shoot event shortly after that, and she came with that carrier, and they're such a great way for moms to have like a piece of self-expression. So if you're using a carrier that feels like authentically like your style or like something that you think is beautiful, like it doesn't matter if your PJs are under it, then if you're wearing something that like kind of makes you feel like you again in motherhood.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Especially a really great tool for photo shoots because like you're holding your baby like really awkwardly and your wrist is like bending funny. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like you have it in the carrier and you can still see the baby. It's just like what the
We just did family photos. Nice. Last weekend, and I wore Violet in front of our Christmas tree in a nice like dark green carrier, so we'll see.
I'm sure they're beautiful. That's awesome. Before we wrap up, do you want to add anything? Any last minute tips, advice, wisdom, stories? It was great. Where could people find you and learn more about working with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I'm at Buffalo Bundles. And then, like you mentioned, we have a local Facebook group. That group is called WNY Babywearing Chatter. So I post about all of our like upcoming events and things like that in there. There's also, I mentioned Taylor. She's another local educator. She's at Taylor Made Babywearing. We collaborate all the time. She's awesome. So give her a follow too. And then I host bi-monthly events at the Lighthouse Birth and Yoga Collective. So we'll be there in Cheektowaga every second and fourth Sunday of the month, doing like consultations, fit checks, rentals, all of that's going to be happening out of the Lighthouse in Cheektowaga. Or you can always email me, buffalobundlesbabywearing@gmail.com. I do offer virtual consultations and fit checks as well.
Awesome. That was going to be my question.
I'll tag all that in the show notes below.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. And I know you're local, but you do share videos on your Instagram about like carriers and how to wrap them and stuff. And you do the virtual, which is awesome. So even if you're not in Buffalo, you can still work with Anna.
Yep. I'm here. I'm here to help.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to connect with us beyond the podcast. You can find me on all social media platforms at moonbay.sleep. And for more sleepy goodness, you can head over to Instagram and follow Eleni at Rooted in Sleep. Until next week, keep embracing the chaos.